Welcome to the Winning Edge podcast, where we share focus, fueling, and faith-filled stories and strategies to give young athletes the tools they need to become the best version of themselves as athletes and individuals.
What you eat and how you think can transform your athletic performance and overall well-being. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or fitness enthusiast just looking to gain that mental edge and optimize your health, this podcast is for you. We are your hosts. I'm Lindsay, former collegiate athlete, coach, and educator, and current educational coach for over 20 years.
And I'm Stacy, registered dietitian nutritionist of 18 years and mom of 2 young boy athletes. In this very first episode, we're diving into what you can expect from this podcast series, how SPAN, Sports Performance and Nutrition, was created, the story behind the Winning Edge book, and a glimpse into the topics we'll cover in the upcoming weeks.
So a lot of people are going to want to know, Stacy, like, how did we meet? Because we grew up in 2 completely parts of the country and have very different backgrounds and very different professions. So do you want to tell them how we met?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the thing that brings us here, right?
Yeah.
So we met ultimately your oldest, my youngest, were on the same baseball team. It was like a league baseball and ended up playing together. And I think we just gravitated, had very probably opposite personalities. And so we gravitated to, and we like to talk a lot. So
Yes, we definitely do like to talk a lot.
And so I would say that's how we met. And I think first got to talking about just, you found out I was a dietitian. I found out you were a collegiate athlete, and you were sharing how, gosh, you wish you would have had some of the strategies and tools.
Yeah, the nutritional piece was definitely missing. So from my experience, and I was like, all the knowledge that you have is what I could exactly, take home and use for my own kids. So
yeah. And then I learned a lot about you working with kids every day and just your background and sort of understanding the psychology of kids and children and doing that every single day as an educator and creating programming. And so, yeah, I would say that's sort of how we met and got started. And I think interested in what each of our areas of expertise was that could maybe do something interesting for other families.
Yeah, and positive, make a positive impact in the competitive sports world.
And then through faith, I would say, faith is a big piece of our podcast. We both attend the same church. And so we met on the sports field, but then I think I had invited you to come hang out with us at our church.
Yeah, you did. Because I know our boys are in school together too. So they became really good friends. And then also through sports. And so I know my oldest August wanted to go to church with Clay. It was like midlink on Wednesday nights. And you were like, yeah, you should come. Just come, join my Bible study. And so it was perfect because, I was coming out of a divorce and my kids kind of needed that direction and that the faith base at the core of what we do. And so it was a perfect opportunity for us.
And we got to meet the most amazing group of women in that Bible study. It's just the women who I call them my prayer warriors. They're my moms. And many of them could be my mom, but just women of all ages. I think you go to them too, just asking for things that we need lifting us up in prayer. So I love that. I love our connection story. I don't think about it often because we just kind of take it for granted. And then I think people probably also want to know how SPAN got started. I'll share a little bit of those who have purchased the Winning Edge book and read it. It's probably no secret. Those who know me and know my family know that I talk about 2 athletes at the beginning of one of the chapters. And I talk about one who's really into nutrition, but needs a little bit more support with mindset and confidence and resilience. And then I talk about another athlete and I talk about he's very confident, but he wants to eat, chicken nuggets and Oreos all the time. And so for those that know me know that that's really sort of the struggle I was having. We have 2 boys, one that's in high school and one that is just going into middle school. For me, it's always been a challenge, especially as a dietitian, kind of seeing opportunities in either mindset or nutrition with them. And I think that's ultimately how it got started. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, my kids are the same way, right? So, they're polar opposites. 2 kids are always polar opposites. You cannot have 2 that are the same. And mine are flip-flopped. But I think, you've had this passion for nutrition for a long time, and people have read the book, know your story. It was deeper than just even your children. You went into school to be a dietitian and focus on nutrition way before you became a mom. And so that love and passion that you've had for helping others, well, first of all, it's amazing and inspiring to see from outside. But I think that is what made this is your baby. This is your passion project. It's come to life and it's amazing.
It's fun. It's fun to work on. And I think it's funny that you say that. So for those that don't know, my older brother Matthew was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was getting ready to go off to college at Texas A&M and figure out what I was going to study. And Lindsay alludes to sort of my greater passion, and it's always been, I still think back to, and I met her a few years after this when I started working in a full-time job at HEB. I actually got to meet the dietitian who first impacted our family's health, because she was the CDE who came and educated my brother in the hospital during his diagnosis. And she came and worked for us as a contractor when I worked with HEB. Like, what a full circle moment. And she was the person who first got me really, I think, interested in nutrition. His diagnosis really helped me see the importance of food to health and, you know, not just managing disease, but I think now, several years later, people think about nutrition. And this is one of the things for young athletes and many young families is they think about nutrition when someone's sick. But we don't often think about the power of nutrition for promoting optimal health, like for performance. And professional athletes do, collegiate athletes do now, I think, more.
Yeah. I mean, so nutrition was never discussed. Even when I was in college, I mean, I was the only freshman on the team, right? And so I'm in a dorm. And my practices were during the cafeteria's hours when they were open for dinner. So I wasn't even able to go to get dinner because it was in the middle of film and then practice or conditioning, depending on the time of the year. And so I never had my meal plan dinners used. And I was eating peanut butter and jelly, ramen noodles, mac and cheese, like all of this terrible stuff that my body did not need. What I needed, I wasn't getting. And coaches didn't, I mean, it was 2000,
nobody said anything.
2008. Nobody said anything. And it was like, oh, the team's going to Wendy's after practice to get baked potatoes and chili or burgers, whatever. And I'm like, if we would have known then, if I would have known then what I know now from working with you, it would have been a game changer for me. And so I just think even today, lots of coaches, unless they're at a really top D1 school or, you know, a strong D1 or top D2 school, they're not getting a nutritionist to work with teams.
No, that's so true. And it's funny because one of the gentlemen we'll bring on, he used to be actually an athletic director here in this area throughout many high schools in Texas. He's the board for the Texas Association of High School Coaches, and he's just a really great gentleman. You guys will get to meet him in a few episodes, but he basically said many of these like really well-performing colleges had secret weapons. And I said, well, what was their secret weapon? And he said nutrition. Like they were doing nutrition before others were doing nutrition. And I'm like, oh, it's so interesting to hear you say that as a coach, as an athletic director, and the fact that that playing field isn't level for everyone still today.
Not level at all. And even if you think about schools, you know, like local schools, whether it's high school, middle school, the athletes, depending on what they're getting from home for nutrition and what they're eating at school, they're not getting the right things that their body needs.
Yeah, many of them.
And
many
it's
of
just
them.
being uninformed.
Yeah. And it's interesting. And we'll talk in some upcoming episodes just about RED-S, which happens in many, a lot of times with young female athletes, even young male athletes, just not restricting energy too much, not getting enough calories to actually be able to deliver and perform. It's a very common, I see this. Kids go to school and they don't eat very much for breakfast before they go to school. They're not really hungry at lunch, or they don't like what's being serving. They're not snacking, like especially the high school athletes. They can't because their teachers don't let them. And then they're trying to eat all of their calories at a post-workout or a dinner meal, and they simply just can't get the calories they need to maintain health.
And I think it's going to be so amazing you getting to share all this knowledge with our listeners over, you know, the lifetime of our podcast, because it's so much information, and having it broke down into different episodes is very helpful for people like me who it's like information overload and you need bits and pieces.
Yeah, you want bite size, like
to get it
no pun intended.
You're like, wait a minute, I have no idea what you just said, but yes.
And that's the hope, is that we can really break it up into topics so that whatever's interesting. If you want to learn about RED-S, if you want to learn about protein for muscle growth, if you want to learn about hydration, if you want to learn about, you know, whatever it might be, performance nutrition for endurance athletes. If you want to learn, and we'll even do sports specific nutrition, which will be really fun. Same thing for mindset. We're going to talk a lot about some of the mindset tools. Visualization. We're going to talk about the power of setting goals and holding yourself accountable. I mean, what else?
Oh my goodness. So the nutrition side of SPAN is huge. And then we have this other massive side of SPAN, which is the mindset and the winning mindset that an athlete has to have. And kids today, you know, it's really sad actually being in education for so long. I have seen this decline in kids being able to overcome obstacles and to emotionally deal with setbacks, athletes and non-athletes. But the athletes, you know, that's our focus. And if they can't set goals, be okay taking risks, and getting uncomfortable, having criticism and having feedback from coaches that's not positive all the time, they shut down. And so that's a huge part of what we're doing at SPAN, and kids need that. Like, our athletes need that.
And you always say this, and I think it's true. I mean, having worked in a corporate environment for many years now, I mean, over a decade, it's like truly having a growth mindset, like understanding that people that truly succeed are those who stand on the pile of their failures, and they're able to work through those failures and come out the other side. And so I think as parents, it's hard sometimes not to want to buffer your child from any sort of failure,
for sure.
But it's the worst injustice you could do for them. In not letting them fail and learn how to recover and learn how to get back up.
Right. And we're coming out of the generation where, like, you know, we didn't get participation trophies, but every year after.
Yeah, Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, you showed up. You don't get anything, you know? But then we did go through that through almost like 15 years of, oh, you participated, so you get a trophy. But that's not reality. And so
that's
our
not
kids know, and our kids grow up, and when they get to college and they experience failure, they flounder, and it's terrible. Even, you know, middle school, that starts to happen. But having that mindset where you're resilient and you have grit, and our athletes are missing that. And a lot of college coaches will even say, like, you know, I can't take a kid who's not coachable.
Yeah. And there's certain things you can't. Teaching that grit, teaching that resilience it's something that has to
you have to let it happen organically. Yeah. And, you know, I have two boys. My youngest is only 7, so it's a different stage right now. But my oldest, that's the same age as your youngest, he is okay with failing. He kind of likes it. And I think that's because he's seen me fail a lot over time. And because
you model that.
I model it. Like, hey, you're going to try things, you're going to fail, and then you just figure it out and do it again, you know, or find a new way to do it.
Be a goldfish.
Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I think also, and, you know, another big reason why we got into this is really just also wanting to make sure in that failure isn't final, and failure doesn't define who you are. And so a big part of what we're trying to do in coaching and teaching these young athletes, their parents, their coaches, organizations, is that really having a strong sense of foundation in who you are as an athlete outside of your sport.
Absolutely. We actually did a post on social media last week just about, you know, who you are, not just the swimmer. You're not just the tennis player. You're not just the track star. Like, you are a child of God. You are an honor student, you are a sibling, you're a role model to your younger siblings. I mean, there's so many things that define you as a human outside of the sport. And our kids need to have that confidence and foundation in their faith, and knowing that their value is so much deeper than just being an athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have a great guest on for this, who actually is a local Cy Ranch high school. He was a high school baseball player. He's now playing for Rice University, who has a really strong story about the power of his faith and carrying him along his journey. Well, this is awesome. So what can our listeners expect from us next?
I think what they can expect from us is just, you know, lots of interviews that we're going to have with guests. And I think the guest part's the most exciting, right? Because it's their true experiences. It's not just us talking together all the time. So we have spotlight coaches that are in here in Texas and across the country, athletic directors, former and current collegiate players, professional players, sports dietitians, sports psychologists, and more. And with the more, it's also to think about this, it's helping coaches, parents, and the athletes. So you can listen to this podcast from any one of those viewpoints, and you're going to take away so much key information.
Yeah, I love it. So Lindsay's saying, stay tuned for future podcasts. We're going to have exciting guests all across the sports world, spotlight coaches, athletic directors, former and current collegiate and sports professional players, sports dietitians, sports psychologists, and many more. What you eat and how you think can transform your athletic performance and your overall well-being. Whether you're an athlete, a coach, or a fitness enthusiast looking to gain a mental edge and just optimize your health, this podcast is for you.
So stay tuned to learn more about how you can join our community and get more exclusive content. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media channels, including TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all with @SPAN Athletics.
Until next time, stay faithful, stay fueled, and remain focused on your goals.